Alrighty, good morning, Pagosa. It's a Friday here, and we're going to get started with our Good Morning Pagosa show. We're actually over at the Pagosa Springs Medical Center today, and I want to thank the Mountain Express for sponsoring our 8 o'clock news, weather, and sports all summer long with the free rides they've offered. Just about winding down on that program, but let's get to our Good Morning Pagosa show. Tamara Lavengood's been on the station before, on the radio, clinic director, and she brought some friends along. Actually, I'm here. I'm at the hospital, so we're doing this live at the hospital today. How about that? Hi, Tamara. How are you?
Hi, Will. So we are all together here, and I am thrilled to introduce two of our newest providers that are here. The specialty clinic, it's awesome. We have Dr. Scotty Smith, who is our new cardiologist, and Will's going to ask you a lot of questions to him, so we will get to know you well, sir.
Fair enough.
And then Emily Barber, who is our new nurse practitioner, who is kind of the in-between person that just helps care manage the patients in any of our specialty clinics. So welcome you both.
Yeah,
Thank
really.
you.
Thank you.
New faces at the hospital. Awesome. Well, maybe start with just tell us about yourselves a little bit. Do you want to start, Scotty, or
Sure. Yeah. Well,
Dr. Smith, I should say, right?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Dr. Scotty.
Dr. Scotty works great. Yeah, indeed. So I have been a cardiologist for more decades now than I would like to probably admit, but I was an interventional cardiologist in Colorado Springs for the majority of my career. And then over the last several years, my wife, who's an ex-CCU nurse, and I have been down in southwest New Mexico practicing kind of on the border, almost kind of doing a Peace Corps kind of shtick down there, trying to help in a very underserved area. And then when Dr. Lambert decided to go ahead and retire, the opportunity here presented itself, and we were lucky enough to try to dovetail with him and Calvin. So
that's awesome. Well, great. So. Glad you're here.
Okay, Dr. Smith, you have to explain what an interventional cardiologist is.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tamara. Yeah.
Good enough. As over the last several decades, as the complexity of medicine has just expanded, what used to be, especially in its own right, just cardiology now, there's probably 6 or 7 different specialties within cardiology. And what was considered interventional cardiology was when the doctors were trained to go in and open up arteries, that is, do the stents, the balloons, the rotor-rooters, the laser beams, and those sorts of procedures where you were intervening with people having unstable angina or heart attacks. And so I spent the first good hunk of my career working a lot of hours in tertiary care hospital in Colorado Springs doing those sorts of procedures. We, of course, don't do those sorts of procedures in a more rural setting, but I've also gotten to an age where I'm happy to have the younger docs do that sort of work anyway.
Mm-hmm. And so kind of explain what kinds of things, what kind of services are you going to offer for the Pagosa folks?
Well, yeah, what is happening all over the country with the difficulties in the healthcare system, just getting in to see sometimes primary care doctors, the same thing is happening around the country, and it's obviously exacerbated in rural areas where you can't even get in to see any form of a cardiologist to even assess whether or not you need to have a cardiologist. And so I think that what Dr. Lambert and Calvin put together was a very strong infrastructure in kind of playing traffic cop with folks who may have symptoms consistent with heart disease and being able to identify those people who have issues that don't need to be treated at all versus those issues that can be very safely treated in a more rural, smaller hospital setting, and to, most importantly, identify those patients who are at the highest risk of problems and need to go to the tertiary care centers to go see doctors like I was in my former lifetime. So we kind of play traffic cop, so to speak.
We are so fortunate to have you.
Yeah, really.
It is awesome.
Well, no, I'm lucky to be here. It was a lucky set of circumstances that got me here, and Connie, my wife, and I are we feel very fortunate.
Well, perfect fit.
Yes.
And I think the coolest thing is that just the transition with our patients from Dr. Lambert to you, it was really seamless.
Well, I don't know if Emily and I will agree with that. With those two, are a pretty hard act to follow. They were so beloved in the community for so long, and of course,
that'll happen with both of you.
Really big shoes to fill, for sure.
You guys are filling them. Totally, you are. Yes. And then the thing is, well, I'm not going to jump in yet. I want you to finish, Dr. Smith.
Oh.
So you have to tell us a little bit now when you were because you were right on the border. Like, was it a clinic that you were in, or how is it similar to this place?
Yeah, well, it was kind of an awkward circumstance. The town itself was actually a little bit bigger than Pagosa. Deming, New Mexico, is about 30 miles from the border. And the little hospital down there was also a critical access hospital, but it had like 25 beds or so. But the geographic area in which it really recruited patients from was much, much larger. And you had the section of the Mexican state of Chihuahua for a couple hundred miles, as well as southeast Arizona and that big hunk of southwest New Mexico. You're talking about a geographic area that's about the size of Massachusetts, Vermont, and New Hampshire put together that we would see patients from. And it's extremely poor. And of course, with all of the issues on the border and stuff, it was really a very wonderful opportunity to feel like I had been, I was able to give some things back to that hospital. Unfortunately, that particular hospital was eventually bought by a for-profit entity back east, which in turn was bought by another conglomerate in New Jersey that buys hospital systems, which in turn was bought by venture capitalists on Wall Street. And so the whole system just kind of was starting to fall apart under the economic pressures. Mm-hmm. So
I am so glad you came here. And then this is what is so refreshing about PSMC is that we aren't corporate owned.
Absolutely.
And it makes a difference.
Well, you guys are a unicorn in the reality of the American healthcare system now.
Yeah.
And, when the circumstances kind of reached a peak of disaster for us down there back in April, and some people from back east that were part of the business people came and fired the CEO of the hospital down there, who was just a great guy. He was just a superb human being. And it was so frustrating that, it's like, I don't think we can do this without his support. And my wife and I were lamenting the reality of the situation happening in front of us. And she happened on her iPhone to plug up looked and said, well, I just found a job offer in Pagosa. And she literally plugged on a couple of numbers and kind of applied for me for the position. And then 2 days later, I get this phone call from Rob Lambert. And so it was just a series of very fortunate events that occurred that allowed us to come up here.
That is so cool.
That's awesome.
And then, Emily, we were so fortunate to have you come because our specialists, they'll come from out of town and they'll be with us for a couple weeks. We need that continuity of care. And you're a nurse practitioner. You can provide that. It is a treat.
Well, I am really excited to be here.
How'd you choose Pagosa?
So Pagosa kind of chose me.
Okay. Sounds familiar, right?
My background is in emergency nursing, and I did some flight nursing, some critical care nursing, and I was actually working out on the Navajo reservation about 9 years ago, and I didn't have a social life, and my coworkers teased me into getting onto an online dating website, which sent my little profile to my husband, who is from born and bred Pagosa.
Really?
And he had to pay $40 to send me an email. And we met, and it was happily ever after. So
that's a modern story.
It is
a very good investment.
It was. I tell them that's the best $40 you ever spent in your life.
Really?
But I moved here 9 years ago,
Okay.
and it's been awesome. I love Pagosa.
Were you in Kayenta then?
I was in Kayenta.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's
It was a really neat situation. I was on a A-Star helicopter, and we would lift up from the small airport there, and there's Monument Valley just opens up in front of you. It's world-class. Wild spaces, so beautiful.
Nice.
And then, Emily, you've been a family nurse practitioner for how many years?
I have been a family nurse practitioner for 4 years. And initially out of school, I did urgent care for 2 years. And then I did urgent care and family practice for another 2 years. I heard about this job when I was still in school because I followed Brittany, Calvin's wife, a little bit. And I heard about his gig, and I was like, man, that would be a dream job. That is just so cool. And then I was looking at working here at Pagosa Springs Medical Center, and Rhonda approached me about this spot, and I was like, yes, I will do that.
I am so glad. Yeah. Well, you are a perfect fit, which just, I mean, we would not be able to have this specialty clinic without having somebody see these patients and be able to intervene and, do the medication kind of stuff, review the labs, the radiology, all of that without you.
Well, I am very excited to be here, and it's a really neat team. Like, I've just been very impressed with kind of the spirit, the clinic. A lot of people want to be here, and it
is amazing.
There's a lot of care. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Do you take on primary care?
I personally
patients?
am not.
No.
My whole position is supporting the specialty team. So I keep myself available to be able to do what patients need.
Very good. Wow. So, some great stories, and you're glad Pagosa chose you guys, and you're here, and that's awesome.
So Dr. Smith, what do you like the most about Pagosa?
Well, so far, I made the comment earlier that it's kind of a unicorn, and I really mean that. And as much as I've never seen any place quite like this little hospital as far as the way the staff get along with each other. You walk up and down the halls, and you see people smiling, and nurses smiling, laughing, emergency room physicians looking like they're having a great time. I mean, I've been in big city hospitals for a long time, and certainly with all the stressors in southern New Mexico, I can guarantee you it was just such an odd sensation. And when I first came and walked around with Rhonda Webb, and she was showing me around, it was almost a little spooky because everybody seemed so happy, and it was like
it's a happy
it was almost
place.
like an episode of the Stepford Wives or something. It's like something is not right here.
That's funny. Well, so just wait. No, I'm just kidding.
Since I've been here, it's really true. Everybody just really feels lucky to have the job that they have. They get along with each other. They love the services, and the whole attitude that permeates down from the administration. The board of trustees or the board of directors of the hospital have just done a superb job of allowing Dr. Webb and the rest of the administration to really set the tone of how medicine is going to be practiced here, in commensurate with the nature of what life in Pagosa Springs is, what we want it to be. In other words, it matches so closely what the spirit of the community is that it's extraordinary. I've never seen any place like it.
They even own their own ambulance system, right?
Yes, indeed.
That's unusual. That's a unicorn in itself.
That is a unicorn, but it provides the ability not to be in the pocket of some of the larger, for-profit corporate
ambulance
entities
services
that are causing such trouble right now, around the country, and certainly those were the kind of circumstances that I'm delighted to get out from underneath. So.
Thank you. That was awesome, just to be able to see that. And, I think that it really starts from the top, totally. And when you like your job, you provide excellent care. You do, because that's why you came into medicine. And it reflects on patient care.
Absolutely.
Yep, it does.
Maybe tell us a little bit about the services you provide. I mean, specifically, if possible.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
What we try to do in circumstances where we're doing a fairly rural cardiology clinic is, first of all, we like to try to support the physicians and physician extenders, such as nurse practitioners who have their own practices here, PAs, emergency room doctors, and the surgeons who need to be able to feel comfortable that the patients that they're taking to the operating room are of low cardiac risk. And so the first thing we do is provide just basic cardiology consultation, and then we try to risk stratify the individual patients. Hopefully we can say, hey, these symptoms are benign, you don't need to see a cardiologist, you got a great heart, get on with living. But if there are some concerns going on, then we try to do the fundamental diagnostic and prognostic testing, such as echocardiography, stress testing, monitoring heart rhythms, and that sort of thing. And we can get a pretty good idea about the acuity of the disease process that any individual has. And so by being here as a cardiology clinic, hopefully we can help the other clinics function more efficiently, because there's nothing more frustrating to a primary care doc or a surgeon that, I really need to know what the cardiologists think. Here, 6 months from now, we'll get you into South Denver or whatever. That just doesn't work out for anybody. And so being here, hopefully, and unfortunately, there will be some times when I will have to tell some people, hey, look, this is not something that can be treated in Pagosa Springs. But because I've been a cardiologist in Colorado for quite some time, and I know the guys in Albuquerque who are the cardiologists at the Heart Institute pretty well by now, I'll be able to grease some of the skids to get some of that referral process going as well. So that's kind of what we're trying to provide here. We're just trying to make the whole system more efficiently run, because cardiology, it still is an important subset, and heart disease just still kills a third of our population. So.
Right. Does Pagosa Springs have any unique specific needs in cardiology, like the altitude? Does that make a difference, or things like that? Or?
Absolutely. The altitude never makes anything better, with as far as people with heart disease. But fortunately, it turns out that there's only a couple of different cardiac diseases in which altitude really makes the prognosis worse. So there's going to be a very infrequent time when I have to tell somebody, hey, look, you have got to get out of altitude because this particular cardiac problem you have will worsen with the altitude. Now, a lot of folks will have problems with kind of chronic heart failure. Their hearts don't beat as efficiently as they did when they were younger, and people with lung disease or sleep apnea, some of these problems. The altitude will always make them feel a little worse. They won't have as much energy, they won't have as much oomph, but that particular subset of individuals, that the altitude doesn't kill them, doesn't put extra stress on the heart, but if they do get out of altitude, the vast majority of those folks will have more energy, they will sleep better, and so that's another one of the services that I think I can provide, because since I've had all my career at high altitude, I kind of know what's going to happen to these folks, and I can kind of counsel them. Not that we want our doctors to tell us to leave town or anything, but we do want our doctors to let us know what the realities of cardiophysiology is. So
that's perfect. That's perfect. And those are the things that you don't know as a patient.
Right, exactly.
Is this altitude even affecting me? Is it something I should even consider?
Yeah. Well, I've already seen quite a few folks who are of snowbirds, that will be here in the summertime. And a delightful couple that I met a couple weeks ago, they came back in the office this morning actually to get some results of tests, and the results were very favorable or whatever. But the wife made this comment. She goes, "Are you going to ground us? That is, you're going to send us back down the mountain and keep us down there?" And No. You don't have those life-threatening kind of problems that the altitude is going to make a difference of. But when they go back to where they winter, he probably will have a little better cardiac function. On the other hand, where he's going is very hot and humid, and so he almost likes being a little more short of breath at higher altitude in a better climate than being hot and humid and sticky, even though he can breathe a little better. So we each have to kind of decide what's best for our own lives.
Well, just to even be able to provide that, and then just say that that's the most important thing, is that you have to decide on your own. You have to weigh the pros and cons, but you need to be able to bounce those off of the providers.
Yeah, have real information, and real science behind your choice. Good.
So, why don't we take a quick break? We're here at the Pagosa Springs Medical Center this morning, and we're speaking with Dr. Scott Smith, and he's a cardiologist here, and Emily Barber, FNP-C. Specialty care, and Tamara Lavengood, who's the clinic director. She's been on the radio before, but this is just fascinating, and I want to get back to our show here in just a couple of minutes. Our sponsor is Pagosa Mountain Sports. Maybe we'll talk about the outdoors a little bit and how that helps your cardio, right? So hang in there. We'll be right back in 2 minutes. We're back. Okay, here we go. Part 2 of our show at the Pagosa Springs Medical Center. And Tamara, you want to...
Well, let's see. This community is so active.
Yes, and that's so good for your heart, right?
It is, but at the same time, you want to be healthy. And so, even diet, nutrition, all those things. And you guys, do you educate your patients on that kind of thing?
I would say so, yeah. It's a big part of our health. Exactly.
If we're being lax, then we're not. But no, we should definitely be doing that. Yeah.
Okay, so personally, Emily, what do you like to do outside in Pagosa? What are your loves?
My loves are horses and running in the mountains, dogs. I've got too many dogs, probably. Don't ask my husband. I have 7 dogs.
Wow.
That was my dream come true.
Pretty funny.
So when we go hiking, I can't always take everybody. They don't fit in the car, but so horses. Fun. When I was in college, that was endurance riding, and distance was fun. That was my passion. So now I have lots of kids. I have 4 little kiddos at home. So
how many kids at home?
4 kids and 7
kiddos.
Dogs.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I have a nice husband. But yeah, I love being outside. I'm actually training for the Imogene Pass race right now.
There you go.
You really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so do you need a cardiac exam before you do this?
I don't know. I feel pretty good.
Well, if you don't, you have a partner right here.
Exactly. I have really good resources.
The Imogene Pass. So how many miles is that?
Well, it's supposed to be 17, although last week they had some heavy rains that caused a mudslide over the pass. So unless they're able to successfully get that cleared up, it's going to be an abbreviated race, unfortunately.
What kind of elevation gain is there?
I think that your rate is 8,000, and I think the top, I should know this.
Probably
the top of the pass, I
11,
think, is 13.
12. 13, whoa.
I think.
Okay.
But
that's like 5,000 feet.
Yeah. It's a big change. So
if
all goes as hoped, that will be the elevation gain. But if they have to do the abbreviated course, it'll be 10,000. But yeah.
See, Emily, you're our role model. You are.
Wow.
To be able to be a clinician and still have a wonderful life outside of work.
It's a big priority for me. Because to be happy, I need to be moving. To be a nice mom.
Right.
Be a nice coworker.
Oh,
yeah. I need to.
I hear you.
So,
yeah.
So you play a lot.
You
work
do.
Hard, you
right.
work hard.
You do.
Exactly.
And there are just incredible world-class places to go for a run here. It's amazing. So it's a big privilege.
Okay, Scotty, Dr. Smith, what do you like to do outside?
Well,
here?
yeah, Connie and I are kind of like Colorado cliches, Boulder in the 70s where we met in college, and so we do the normal things, running, cycling, skiing, the usual, the common suspects. That's what we like to do, and that's our story, and we're sticking with that. That's what we're going to be doing until we can't do it no more.
There you go, true cardiologist right there.
Really?
So.
Well, anything else? Anything else you want our listeners to know about you guys, or about the services you provide, or the hospital, how things are going here, and everything seems great?
I just want to kind of emphasize that I really feel lucky, getting hooked up as Emily with the nurse practitioner is going to make my life a lot easier. And we really do have a tough act to follow with Dr. Lambert and Calvin Newsom. But we're going to give it our best shot to keep that going, and maybe with time, as hospital keeps getting more and more sophisticated, we can expand some of the services and stuff. But look forward to being here for years to come and providing a good service within the community.
That's awesome, and
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
Both of you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
All right. Well, and thanks for tuning in, folks. We'll get to our, let's see, Ag News is up next. Speaking of livestock, and so we'll get to that, but really appreciate everything that you guys do here at the hospital. It's just been fantastic. I've been here 25 years. I've seen this go from nothing, really nothing, maybe not even a clinic, really, to this, to where you are now. It's just amazing. It's so cool.
It is.
You're lucky, we're lucky, and we're very grateful for you guys. So we'll see y'all later. Have a great day, folks.
Thank you.
Great holiday weekend.
All right. Thanks so much.
All right.
care.
See y'all later.